This is the Ask Amberleigh Show. Welcome to the Ask Amberleigh Show podcast. Dr. Tyler Panzner. You've been a guest before and a podcast listener favorite. So I'm glad we're going to dive in today on one topic in particular that I really want to talk about is highly sensitive people. So
Yeah,
let's dive in.
yeah, absolutely. Happy to be back on. I remember how many years ago was that? Like 2,
2023.
3 years ago? 2020. Yes, like 3 years
Yeah.
ago, we did my first ever in-person podcast that we did in the studio, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a whole other level. So it's crazy how time flies. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's funny. We were just talking, off air about checking in, how we're doing, business stuff, this, that, and we were both kind of saying how we love the creating the education part, but the business side of stuff, it's I mean, it's stressful for anyone, right? But like,
Right.
especially as a highly sensitive person, you and I both, I talk about this stuff a lot, and it's like, yeah, just, you should just test the market and do a webinar. And then if people like it, make a course. It's like, I can't do that. Like my
Yeah.
nervous system it's screaming. And it's like, as much as, we're motivated to build a business, be entrepreneurs, it's like the nervous system of a pure entrepreneur. It's very high uncertainty, stress tolerance, right? Which
hmm
us highly sensitive people, have a much lower threshold for. And of course,
Right.
there's a lot of things come into play. My background being in genetics, right? There's so many genetic things that can make us break down these stress molecules, more quickly.
hmm
I'm trying to remember, did you have the COMT gene? I know I have the two copies of the slow.
Yeah. I only have one
Yeah,
copy of the slow.
got it.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
hmm
that COMT gene, that's one of the most important genes I've seen. Genetic, not one gene governs everything, but
hmm
that's linked to how quickly you're breaking down dopamine and adrenaline. So if that works more slowly, right, you feel more deeply. I mean, I feel like, I don't know about you, I feel like when I was growing up, I feel like I viewed the sensitivity as a negative thing.
hmm
Um,
I still do. I still suffer
yeah,
with
well,
that.
it's
Yeah.
had its downsides, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
like to say the highs are high and the lows are low because it's
hmm
not all bad. I mean, I'm going on a limb here. You're with me. Like we could look at like a mountainscape and like literally feel that dopamine high. We
Yeah.
could feel that high. We listen to music. I could think about my favorite song and like literally get goosebumps
Goosebumps.
from
I
that,
have it right now.
right?
Yeah. Just you
Yeah.
saying it. Yeah.
Yeah,
hmm
exactly. I
Yeah.
think I almost got, yep, I got them
Yeah.
too, right? There we go.
Yeah.
Virtual telekinesis, goosebumps, right?
Right.
It's we feel all things more deeply, right?
hmm
And when you think about it, well, as I got older, I'm realizing it's a strength in a lot of circumstances, but it's about understanding how to work with your nervous system, not against it.
Right.
And I think a lot of people understand don't be doing too many things at once, the loud environments and things, but you know, when I started working with people one on one with the genetic coaching, there were so many patterns and interactions that I observed in myself, like, oh, that supplement for antioxidant health or that gut health supplement, I feel more anxious. Like, is it
hmm
in my head? Is it not? And I do some research, and it turns out that it affects the levels of certain excitatory neurotransmitters. So, gas pedals of the brain, starting to notice this with certain foods. And over time, working with hundreds of people, I realized most of my clients are highly sensitive. And the reason why they can't fully be at ease in part is because of these foods, supplements that are healthy, right, by regular standards. They're good for general health, but they also stimulate the nervous system.
Right.
And I mean, when you hear the word stimulant, what do you think of?
Well, besides like caffeine or coffee
Yeah.
or well, now I'm like working with you. I've like trained myself to figure out those things like green tea extract and
Yep.
things that will actually adrenaline boosters and there's one other. Oh, actually, when I eat red pepper, like a paprika or just red
Hmm.
pepper, I will get angry. Like a deep anger will just
Interesting.
come out of nowhere and I'll get hot. With that, I guess that's more histamine, but it does rev me up. It starts with like my energy, my thoughts
Yeah.
will start going. It's just, and
Yeah.
I'm guessing that either has to do with histamine that then triggers adrenaline or, I don't really
Well,
know what that is.
I'm glad you mentioned the histamine there. And it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, so most people, back up for a sec, most people think, coffee, caffeine,
Hmm.
Adderall, Vyvanse, maybe meth, methamphetamine, like the
Right.
real stimulants. But by definition, a stimulant is anything that stimulates the central nervous system. It sounds self-explanatory, but I I want to widen that scope,
Hmm.
especially if you're a highly sensitive person. What's a stimulant for you and I will not
Right.
be a stimulant necessarily for someone that isn't highly sensitive. So
Hmm.
she mentioned green tea extract, that EGCG in there. I mentioned that COMT gene, right? That breaks down dopamine, adrenaline. Green tea extract is one of dozens of natural supplements that can block that gene or block that worker. So imagine if the worker that breaks down adrenaline, the fight or flight hormone, neurotransmitter in your brain, instead of working an 8 hour shift, it only works a 2 hour shift. All that adrenaline is going to get built up. And we feel that as I have irritability, that impending doom type feeling, and something I call the monkey on your back feeling. I'm not sure if when you did my program, if I had it coined like that yet. Did I use that term back
I
then?
think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's just that feeling when you can't fully be at ease. Even if
Hmm.
you had a day at work, you come home, you're with your family, your dog, you just feel that inner tension, that inner restlessness. And that happens to, I didn't realize how many people suffer from that, just how you or I did until they come and be like, I can't relax. I don't know why. It's the green tea extract. It's the quercetin. It's the rhodiola rosea. It's the curcumin. I could go on and on around these things that literally trap adrenaline. I call them adrenaline trappers. They
Hmm.
trap adrenaline in your brain. You have things like adrenaline builders, phenylalanine, tyrosine, L-DOPA. Those are the building blocks for adrenaline. Now, you'll see people recommend them for nootropics or ADHD because they help raise dopamine. But anything that raises dopamine also raises adrenaline because they're in the same pathway. So someone's on a thyroid supplement with tyrosine and rhodiola rosea. Now you have a builder and a trapper in a sensitive nervous system. They feel worse and they don't
Yeah.
really, know why there.
Yeah. No, well, it's interesting when you're talking about those types of things. I know from my experience, even down to non-stimulatory things like the magnesium L-threonate, like
Hmm.
it's supposed to be calming.
Yep.
If I take a full capsule, just one capsule of that, my heart rate slows down.
Yeah.
I feel depressed almost. Like I feel like I want to grieve things. I feel very sad. So I have to only take a fourth of one capsule to where I'm like, okay, I'm okay right now.
Now, is
It's
that
just
just threonate or all
threonate.
magnesium?
Um, Other magnesiums are actually I will be stimulated on,
Mm,
which
yeah.
is it's rarely talked about,
Yep.
but like magnesium malate or I've had magnesium glycinate, I've
Yep.
had those reactions too where I'm actually hyper on those. So I don't know, maybe it's because I'm just a highly sensitive person, but a lot of my supplements I have to break down into fourths or even like a whisper of something in
Yep.
order to
A
get the
whisper.
effect.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
less than a fourth. It's like, so tiny, but it does the trick. Like even the other night I took L-theanine
Hmm.
and felt great and then did it took a fourth, did it 3 days in a row, and then that was too much. Then I almost had like a dark night of the soul for
Yep.
7 days after that.
Yep.
I was
Yep.
so low and like crying
Well,
and
it's funny you mentioned this because, like, yeah, like, so we were talking about the adrenaline system,
hmm
right? And like, this is exactly, you know, kind of we're talking about here, right? Identifying these things. this new program I'm going to be launching, like talking about a webinar, a free webinar about it. Like
Hmm.
I I don't want to come across as just like, a shameless plug here, but it's this
No, go ahead.
revolutionary new system of
Hmm.
understanding your specific nervous system. So I'm happy to break down exactly what you just described there. So that what we were talking about adrenaline before.
Hmm.
There's also histamine that you mentioned, glutamate and sulfur. These are
Mm.
four systems of your brain that are gas pedals. They stimulate the brain. Different people, based on their genetics and what they consume, different people have different flavors.
Mm.
So adrenaline is more of the what if, future focused threats, physical anxiety, impending doom feeling. Glutamate is more of obsessive thinking, rumination, perfectionism, stimming for neurodivergence, a lot of rumination.
Hmm.
Histamine is more of a arousal alert feeling. So histamine was made in our bodies to alert us that something's wrong is going on inside for like
Mm.
the health. It's part of inflammation. So histamine won't necessarily cause horrible thoughts, but it'll make you more revved up. They actually did this study. It's a pretty crazy study. They injected humans with pure liquid histamine.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the first symptom they experienced was anxiety. The first symptom of
Interesting.
elevating histamine. They went all the way up. Then it was, like a wheezing, asthma, right? As you went higher, higher, higher.
Hmm.
The first thing right in the upper normal, even before they really jacked it up, was racing heart and anxiety. But it can rev up the brain, and then sulfur can also stimulate. So, what you just mentioned, you want to make sure you're addressing the right gas pedal for you. So,
Hmm.
you mentioned magnesium and L-theanine. Both of those act primarily on the glutamate system.
Mm.
So, if we think about the magnesium, um, magnesium usually has a calming effect in most people. Now, the glycinate, that's magnesium attached to glycine.
Right.
Glycine, it's calming for most people, but for around 20% of people, it also helps to stimulate one of the glutamate receptors, the NMDA receptor. For around 20% of people, based on their genetics, it can stimulate them.
Hmm.
I do great on glycine. It's one of my favorites. For you, it stimulates you, right? So
Hmm.
this people are just grabbing things for calm or for stress. Which system is overactive for you? You can have multiple, right?
Hmm.
So you mentioned the theanine. Well, glutamate is responsible for our mood, attention, memory, and learning. So what happens if you overdo it? You feel very flat. What's the word you use? The darkness of the soul.
Yeah,
How'd
it
you word
was like
that?
a dark night of the soul. Like it
Yeah.
was just this, oh my God, I have to
Like
like
dull, apathetic type.
yes.
Yeah.
And then I was actually sad. I felt disconnected from everything I was doing in my career, disconnected from people.
Yeah.
Like I just felt alone on an island.
Yeah.
And it was a flatness that turned into like a sadness and a
Yep.
grief almost.
Yeah. And that's too low of glutamate, right? Like, so you
Hmm.
looked at that system. So it's like, just think about that glutamate system for you.
Hmm.
You met me personally. I have a lot of glutamate issues genetically. So like I do well on a lot of those things.
Hmm.
Theanine, agmatine sulfate, lithium orotate, magnesium. Um, you brought it down a bit, which was good. Then you brought it down too low, right? So it's
Mm.
like anything like what if you take too much of like a beta blocker? Your blood pressure goes too low, right? Like it's you
Right.
want to find so if you had the four different like volume sliders, right? Like DJ,
Hmm.
I know the DJ analogy, you had the different volumes of each track, learning how to really curate your own desired nervous system state.
Right.
Um, that's just the wrong supplements, right? But we go into foods as well. Like let's go into, the glutamate system. People talk about MSG, monosodium glutamate was a
Hmm.
lot big issue. People talk about a lot like the 90s, early 2000s, and it's written off a lot. So that is basically pure glutamate that you put onto foods. It makes
Hmm.
foods taste umami, very savory flavor. But if you are genetically sensitive to glutamate, that can literally add to the fuel. So certain MSG foods, bone broth, Collagen supplements can have some of that glutamate. So I work with people and we figure out it's their collagen supplement or it's the bone broth that they're having that's contributing to these things. So if those bring it up, you could figure out if someone senses the glutamate, they should really be mindful of their beef jerky, their MSG, their bone broth, their glutamine supplements. These
Hmm.
raise it. So you see, it's like, which of these four pillars do you need to address? What are you doing unknowingly that is stimulating that? If you're adrenaline sensitive, don't be taking a green tea extract, right? Then you're having caffeine with it. No wonder why your lemon balm supplement won't work. You're throwing a little bucket of water on a raging house fire because you're just jacking up, all the stimulation there.
Right. So the L-theanine, it does it drop glutamate?
Yeah. So
Okay.
L-theanine, it's really interesting actually how theanine functions. So theanine actually binds to that receptor, that NMDA receptor, in the same place that glutamate does. So
Okay.
it activates the receptor. So you might be wondering, well, how does it calm you down? Well, it activates it a lot less potently than glutamate. I'm not going to do it here, but imagine if I
Mhm.
started screaming into the microphone, full
Yeah.
volume, right? Your ears, all you guys listening would be like, oh my God, that hurt my ears.
Yeah.
Imagine that's glutamate binding to that receptor. It's screaming.
Okay.
Then we have, I can do the AMSR, right? I'm not
Yeah,
actually going
yeah.
to do it, but then we have L-theanine here that's
Right.
still binding to it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's whispering. So
Mm.
rather than the screaming volume, you're having the whispering volume. And since L-theanine has the microphone, glutamate can't scream into it. So
Mm.
that's
Okay.
how molecularly it's helping to lower that. But if you keep taking that, eventually you're not going to really have much more of the glutamate there, right? And it stays low for too long.
Okay.
So that makes sense?
Yes. And so should I, if I get to that point where I'm like, oh no, I overdid it. I'm too flat. I'm too low. How do I get it back up? Do I take glycine? Or does that lower it as
Yeah.
well?
So good question. Yeah. So, well, if you're sensitive to glycine, in theory, that could work, right? So it's like
Hmm.
in theory here, like maybe you could have some bone broth, right? So like the
Mm.
same, I think in reality, I think maybe just waiting it out. And that's also why understanding which of these systems you're working on is really important, right? But
Hmm.
yeah, in theory, L-glutamine is a building block for glutamate. I mean, maybe Chinese takeout with some MSG, right? It's
Yeah.
it's it's kind of a crude way to like look at it, right?
Yeah.
But I really want to put that emphasis on these hidden stimulators, right?
Hmm.
So, the adrenaline stuff, you have coffee, you have green tea extract in the morning, and then you have curcumin at lunch for your joints. That's an adrenaline trapper,
Hmm.
right? Histamine's another big one as well. A lot of healthy foods can be high in that histamine and stimulate, or bad gut bacteria. Like if I have tomatoes, if I have any types of vinegar, I'll feel my nervous system get excited a bit because of that histamine. Well,
Hmm.
I shouldn't really take L-theanine for that, right?
Right.
Because it's not this is why people say, oh, theanine did nothing for me. Well, you probably don't have the looping type thought process
Right.
from that glutamate. We want to match the right tool to the right system, but no one's really breaking down the anxiety, the stress, the overthinking into these specific systems. And when we look into, I mentioned these are all genetic. When we look into genetic issues with these systems, what are they linked to in humans? Well, they're linked to things like OCD, ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder. So you see all these Tourette syndrome, all these different things.
Ticks
Like the
too. Yeah.
Exactly. The tics, whether it's full
Mhm.
blown Tourette's or not, again, the stimming type behaviors, right? Fidgeting, stuttering. So you think about the highly sensitive person, then like a subset of that is neurodivergent individuals, right? And what do you know? Why is there so much comorbidities with autism and ADHD or OCD and anxiety? It's because they're all involving these same exact systems? Are you someone with anxiety, OCD, and perfectionism, or are you someone with glutamate issues? I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's so much more empowering to understand. If that's you, you probably should be utilizing certain nutrients for the glutamate system and avoid the foods and supplements that stimulate it. When you get that targeted and precise, this is how you're able to make these large improvements holistically. You're not just guessing. Again, you're looking at calm or anti-stress or relaxation. That could be, one of many, many different things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm interested also in the sulfur pathway
Yeah.
because I notice well, first of all, going back a little bit, if I take glycine at night, if I wake up in the morning, I feel like I've been hit by a truck, and I get the
Mm,
same exact reaction when I have glutathione before bed. It's like, it's almost like I'm inflamed, or like just feel like a truck hit me in the
yeah.
morning when I wake up. I'm like, whoa, what happened? I feel inflamed and slow. So, and I know glutathione is more sulfur based, but I have a similar reaction to glycine and glutathione. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Glycine is one of the building blocks of glutathione. So we
Okay.
need glycine to make that. Now, the glutathione aspect, that makes a lot of sense. And, sulfur, people think of like the sulfa allergies. These are
Hmm.
different, distinct things.
Right.
You cannot be allergic to sulfur. It's the third most abundant element in our body. You'd be dead.
Right.
Like you can't be allergic, but sulfur, more specifically sulfites. So sulfites, they are a toxic metabolite of sulfur. We
Okay.
go from sulfur, we get it through food and supplements. We turn into sulfites temporarily. Then we detox that into sulfate.
Hmm.
Sulfate is critical for sulfation phase two detoxification in the body. This is why people are told to eat high sulfur foods, cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale, garlic, onions, the allium family of vegetables. They're very rich in not just sulfur, but sulfur rich plant compounds like sulforaphane. A lot of people have popularized.
Hmm.
Now, the glutathione makes a lot of sense. I don't do well on that either. So you're taking this sulfur containing compound that may be getting broken down and more of this sulfur, the sulfites, right? You could
Hmm.
genetically not break it down as well. Now, why I don't think it's so much the glycine making you feel like glutathione. You're not introducing more sulfur into the system, right? So I don't
Right.
think it's so much that if you were taking N-acetylcysteine, the other building block,
Hmm.
absolutely, right?
Right.
I can't do that either. I feel that monkey on my back feeling, right?
Hmm.
Um, it might just be again that glutamate sensation, right? You don't do well on magnesium glycinate. Well, magnesium glycinate in a regular serving, I think you get around 120 milligrams of magnesium. You get around 2 grams of glycine. So the vast majority of magnesium glycinate is actually glycine. So this
Hmm.
is why if you hated
Interesting.
magnesium glycinate, you're really going to hate pure glycine, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I would, look at that there. And I call NAC and glutathione like functional medicine candy. It
Hmm.
is recommended so often. I think it's not overrated. I think it's very overutilized. Unless you're having acute oxidative stress issues, you're very old.
Hmm.
I don't think young people, unless maybe if you're running like liver toxic anabolic steroids or something, I don't think people should be taking that all the time just because, especially in higher dosages. I can't even tell you how many people they don't realize what do high sulfites do? They trigger adrenaline, they trigger histamine, they trigger glutamate, brain fog, anxiety, headaches. So they don't realize they're flooding the system with all these things,
Hmm.
right? So it's like I keep saying this monkey on your back feeling, but what I go into is trying to understand how do you look at your day, what you're putting into your body, your own cognitive flavor. Genetic testing helps, of course, but that's not a part of this program, right? This is meant for even genetics aside for self-identification. I'm not even calling it an anxiety course. I'm calling it a nervous system literacy program to
Hmm.
really understand yourself because that's really what it is,
Right.
to just see these patterns and pick up on this stuff. And I'll give you an example. Like, I'm already waiting for people to be like, What's this guy talking about? You're saying that garlic and onions are like causing people anxiety. You're saying that green tea extract. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. So you've heard of sulforaphane before?
Yes. Hmm.
Very big for it's an NRF2 activator, helps you make glutathione, detoxification phase two, all very true.
Hmm.
Great data on a lot of stuff. That is a reactive sulfur rich plant compound. Now, there's been meta-analyses out there that sulforaphane helps with hyperactivity in autistic children. I work with a lot of autistic children. They come to me, their parents have them on sulforaphane. I look at their genetics and I can see they make sulfites more easily and or break them down more slowly genetically. So I tell them, listen, get rid of that sulforaphane. And then
Hmm.
they say, wow, like, wow, that actually helps so much. The functional medicine doctor said, take this for detox. And a study came out last year proving that exact thing that I've been doing for years. They had 5 autistic children and 1 woman with, I think, ulcerative colitis.
Mm.
And they mapped them by their genetics. So you remember from year, I'm saying we need more studies about this. No one
Right.
breaks it up by genetics. Finally, we have one. Sure, it's only 5 children and one adult. But when you broke them up by who makes sulfites too easily,
Hmm.
you remove sulforaphane in this study, they all had reduced hyperactivity. So
Wow.
it's not even just autism. It happened with an adult with ulcerative colitis. And what I'm saying here is it doesn't matter what your label or diagnosis is. If you are sensitive to sulfites, you need to be very mindful of not just your sulforaphane, how much of these vegetables you're eating, your glutathione, how much of your overthinking or your anxiety or your restlessness or your headaches are due to eating the foods or having the supplements. So I'm like so glad that study's out there. Instead of it being just trust me, bro, it makes sense on paper. Like
Hmm.
this is shown in studies, meta-analyses. It's great for hyperactivity. Based on these specific genetic factors, it's bad for hyperactivity.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to take your course because throughout the day, I can think about the sulfur and the glutamate and all those pathways. But then, sure enough, lo and behold, one moment I'll just start with a headache. I'm like, okay, what did I
Yep.
eat? Or what did I, so then
Yep.
I'm backtracking and
Yep.
thinking, what's going on? What pathway is doing this? So I will say though, when I'm on vitamin D, because I do have a few vitamin D mutations, when I'm on that, it does make me less sensitive to some of these things
Hmm.
that are at
Hmm.
play. Like just fundamentally, I don't
Yeah.
have to do as many like ninja moves on the top
Ninja
surface
moves.
of
That's funny. Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what I'm eating and
Yeah.
what I'm taking and all that stuff. It's kind of just a good baseline, but I've had a hard time and I've told you this before. Vitamin D, I've noticed for me, it makes me a little bit more masculine. And
Hmm.
so it's harder for me to be on constantly
Yeah.
because
Didn't you mention, was that the one that you said had the hair loss stuff for you too? Or that was
yes.
something? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Interesting.
having some
Yeah.
issues with that. And then actually when I took a blended vitamin A, like a plant
Yeah.
and an animal-based vitamin A, a lot of that stuff started to
Yeah.
diminish. So I don't know if it put me into a vitamin A deficiency on top of some, I think I had a lot of free testosterone going on and it just wasn't binding. And I think my hair was falling out. It was a lot of things going on. And a lot of, and you know this, that I work with mental patterns and
Yep.
psychological things and stuff.
Yep.
So I had to change a lot of that. And then my reaction to vitamin D improved a lot.
Yep.
So there's still some fundamental things that I think are good. I have to kind of cycle the vitamin D.
Yeah.
But another thing that I've noticed with vitamin D, I don't know if you've ever experienced this or correlated anything, but when I take it, a lot of things in my life start reflecting kind of like a breakdown of sorts. Like there's a lot of like things that you take internally will get reflected out into your physical reality. And so when I'll take a certain supplement or vitamin or nutrient, like changing my diet or something like that, when it's that significant and affecting so many pathways and my thinking and my behaviors and things, then my reality starts shifting so fast that I almost kind of can't keep up with it. And then so I've had a hard time with taking vitamin D. I know I sound super
No, so
hypersensitive.
no, no, well, I mean, I know this about you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you say like breaking down, like what do you mean? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, you just see like opportunities or doors closing around you?
A
Like, what
little
is
bit of
that?
that. Yeah,
Got
it's a
it.
little bit of that. It's a little bit of like,
So more in a
okay,
negative
yes, it's
light.
more
Got
negative.
it.
Yeah, like, okay, I don't have as many clients reaching out, or like
Yeah.
haven't talked to my friend. No one's reaching out or to hang out, or but it
Yeah.
even bigger things. Like I was taking vitamin D, and then I had this whole like termite infestation that just like came about in my house, which was so weird. And when I stopped taking the vitamin D, like all of it cleared up.
I
It's
see.
very
Yeah.
weird. It's very
Yeah.
weird stuff. So I'm just, and I know when I take it, like I'll take a break on it, and everything's kind of smooth sailing. And then when I take it again, something else happens, like a door frame falls off in my house. It's weird things, and I don't know what that is, but I actually typed it into Chat GPT, and what it said was you have to have enough magnesium and certain things in place first before being able to handle vitamin D and the processes,
Yeah,
so
there's
that
that boron, the vitamin A as
hmm
well, that affects the immune cell functioning as well. So people talk about
hmm
magnesium, boron, yeah, and it's why that goes into the whole like quantum stuff, right? Like
yeah,
why would that be literally, it's one thing to affect like I I'm more sensitive to my friend not reaching out, but like to actually have it the change in the physical reality, right? Not even your
yeah,
perception of it, right? And that's I don't have a course for that, right?
yeah.
That's
I know. Well,
but when you mentioned, the mental tools as well, and
hmm
mate, like pharmacology supplements, but I'm really excited. There is so much more than I've ever talked about by a long shot. We've always chatted psychology. There is so much psychology and understanding, like the philosophy
hmm
of living in a highly sensitive system and mental tools, data backed psychological tools where why are you trying to do breath work if you're stuck in a thought-based loop at
hmm
work from glutamate, right? Picking, so
Totally. Yeah.
it's aligning. It's not just take the supplement, bro. I
Right.
actually kind of I mentioned the supplements that help at the end on purpose because like
hmm
I'm not trying to frame this as, like I'm not trying to frame this as, oh, the supplements. No, this is about first, number one, identifying and removing your triggers. Because I'll give you an example. I had a client of mine. She really big into psychedelics, meditation, and she could not like kind of sit into her meditation. Like she would need to do it midday at work
hmm
between calls and stuff. She could not do it. We looked into it. She was taking a pretty solid dose of alpha lipoic acid for her
mm
mitochondria. Sounds great on paper, right? All the biohacker bros say take it. Well, alpha lipoic acid is very rich in sulfur. She had a sulfite issue. She
mm
removed that. She emailed me the next day, Tyler, this is the first time I was able to drop into meditation for the last 5 months, which is when I started taking this thing.
Oh, wow.
So, like, it's before she was trying to do meditation to address the stimulation.
Mm.
It wasn't coming from within.
Right.
It wasn't coming from within her psyche. It
Right.
wasn't coming from her external world.
It was
It was coming
biochemical.
from exactly.
hmm
It is so hard to like when I was learning, I go into dozens and dozens of my own experiences, what I did wrong, what I've seen clients do wrong, where, I would take a supplement with some L-tyrosine and then have caffeine-free green tea for lunch.
hmm
I would be chugging CBD, trying to kumbaya. Nothing works because my
Yeah.
heart, it's biochemical. You
Right.
can't, it's one thing if, a car almost runs you over and there's no other stimulants
Right.
involved and you could kumbaya, breath
Right.
work and help that. But what if you got hit by the car? Not got hit by the car. Bigger issues there. What if
Yeah.
you almost got hit by the car and you took a rhodiola rosea or a curcumin?
hmm
You are going to be sustaining
Right. You're not coming down from
that
that.
stress response. You're Whether you release your own adrenaline from your thoughts or a supplement or a food, it's all the same,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
So removing those stimulators, because maybe all that meditation, breath work you're trying to do, maybe it's due to a stimulant or foods or both that you're having.
Hmm.
Then it comes down to trying to use mental tools first, then supplement if need to, right? But
Hmm.
again, all these tools don't work for everybody. Which ones are more dominant, for you specifically, right? Um,
Hmm.
so I'm excited. It's like I've seen this help countless people I've worked with. It's helped myself, people I know, like you mentioned yourself, and I want this needs to be something that every person that is highly sensitive or neurodivergent or works with highly sensitive or neurodivergent people, before you recommend any supplement or any diet plan, right? You need to understand these things. Let me
Hmm.
give this. We mentioned that autism study with the sulforaphane. I wonder how many pieces of broccoli equals one pill of sulforaphane. It's a lot. But my point is, if concentrated sulforaphane lowers reactivity to sulfur sensitive people, that means that the broccoli, garlic, onions, they can also do that to a lesser degree. Concentrated things are a lot worse, but how subtle is it, right? Like
Hmm.
another big factor is women in their follicular phase. Histamine goes up around with estrogen. So if your
Hmm.
histamine bucket is more filled up, if you look at the symptoms of high histamine, the symptoms of PMS, they're like virtually identical because histamine is what drives a lot of that. So I'll give you an example, right? Like you may be more mindful of these sulfur. I work with a lot of women that realize, wow, I'm more sensitive to my sulfur things in my follicular phase.
Hmm.
So you see all of these, like I know it's a lot, I'm kind of dumping a lot here, but it's trying to give examples of these things that why do I feel so revved up? Why is my external life a 3 out of 10 stress, but it feels like a 9 out of 10,
Hmm.
right? What other things I call are lurking in the waters that are stimulating the nervous system?
Right. Well, and you can also go to therapy for years, right? And you
Yep.
keep repeating the same patterns in your relationships, or you're attracting the same person, even though you're dating a completely new person. And
Yep.
so you see it in lifestyle ways, but it's coming from a biochemical process. It could be. And
Yeah.
so it's worth looking into to say, like, oh, when you change the biochemistry, now all of a sudden I don't have that pattern
Yeah,
anymore
you're
that I
not
keep
as
repeating.
reactive. And listen, this
Right.
is not a replacement for the therapy, of
Right.
course, right? And,
No,
and
and
that's,
it's not knocking therapy at all.
oh,
It's
of
just
course.
saying
There's
there could
different
be different
tools
routes. Yeah.
because, like, and that explains another concept I go into. You have physiological versus
Hmm.
psychological anxiety.
Right.
Physiological anxiety, you get that monkey on your back feeling, right? You feel uneasy. You're not panicking,
Hmm.
but maybe there's no fear yet, right? You just feel like I call it, I say activated rather than anxious.
Right.
Anxiety is when there's a conscious fear component.
Hmm.
Stress is just stimulation.
Hmm.
But for the highly sensitive, overthinking mind, if you persist with that monkey on your back, what does your brain do? It goes into your subconscious. It tries to find a narrative or story to
Hmm.
address the feeling.
Right.
And now you're thinking about something that's making you anxious that it didn't even exist before. Now
Hmm.
you have psychological anxiety, right? What's wrong with me? Or, oh, I'm remembering my friend didn't get back. Just because of the wrong supplement that you took, it snowballed into that. Or
Hmm.
there's the psychological, right? Like, actual trauma. You were attacked by a dog when you were a child, and now a dog barked as an adult. Like that's,
Right.
these things, this program won't fix that. That's therapy. But imagine if you had that trauma. Imagine if you took, imagine if you knew you were going to be around dogs and you took a green tea extract beforehand.
Mm. Yeah.
So you see how this all it changes it, right? It amplifies it. So maybe then you should take something like a phosphatidylserine or a lithium orotate to help lower adrenaline and cortisol,
Mm-hmm.
before you go around the dogs. You know yourself. You connect these things. Instead of shooting yourself in the foot constantly, why don't you start stacking the cards in your favor? But everyone has different cards they need to stack, right? Some people it's more sulfur, some it's a fusion of these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you focus on, say you do the tapping solution and you tap on pressure points to disassociate um, the memory of
Hmm.
that dog attack. And so now, whenever you're around dogs, you're fine. But say you did take the green tea extract before
Yep.
you're with it, then it could also stimulate both things on a higher level. So that loop will
Yep.
start, the adrenaline, the anxiety, and all of that stuff. So it's interesting to go from like a cognitive therapy like top down in a
Exactly.
biochemical bottom up way.
Yep.
You can work on both, of
Hmm.
course, but sometimes they're completely separated and sometimes they can compound each other. And,
Yep.
you know, so it is, it's useful to look deeper into the biochemical processes because I think a lot of people are dealing with anxiety or are highly sensitive
Yep.
people and they're not addressing the biochemical pathways because they don't know what to look for. They don't know that that's even at play right now. So there's also one thing I did want to touch on with you because I know you sent a reel to me about psychic ability and
Yeah.
telekinesis and things that would categorize underneath the highly sensitive
Yep.
person. So, and you and I have talked about this before about how I have experienced out of body experiences. And you were saying that it could have to do with like DMT and
Hmm.
maybe a genetic
Yep.
mutation of some sort. So, would that, or is that possible to supplement with certain things to help stop out of body experiences or to, you know, get someone back in their body a little bit more grounded? Or is there anything, any research that you know of for that?
Yeah. So regarding the psychic ability side of stuff, I the theory I've had for this is I think a lot, it's not going to be one thing, right? And this isn't thoroughly studied, right? But like proven per se. But,
Hmm.
you know, we think of like psychedelics, right? Out of body experiences, right? That serotonin 2A receptor, the HT2A receptor, that's
Hmm.
the baseball mitt that grabs onto not just your own serotonin, but your own DMT, dimethyltryptamine, your body releases. So the most
Hmm.
powerful hallucinogen in the world, DMT, that people smoke or ayahuasca, we make that ourselves.
Hmm.
And in lower amounts, of course. But now, when we think about this, we know there are genetic variants in that gene that make the receptor not work as well.
Okay.
And we know that that's linked to things like depression.
Hmm.
So you're basically underdosing on your own serotonin and DMT. So it makes sense, right? Like why you may be depressed from that. So then there are also mutations that, let me think how to word this. When they study these things, they don't prove this mutation makes the receptor less sensitive. Like they
Hmm.
don't exactly, they just show this mutation in this gene is linked to X or Y.
Right.
But thinking intuitively here, we know that low serotonin, it's not the only thing involved, but it can play a role in depression. So it makes sense that that would be linked to a less active one. Now, I've worked with certain people, you being one of them, right, that I saw had a certain different mutation in that gene. And it was energy workers or shamans or psychic mediums that are able to tap in. And they're
Hmm.
essentially, or you, they, right, are essentially turning your own natural DMT into a, relatively speaking, to smoking DMT, or a very mild it's a powerful psychedelic compared to your normal brain state, right? So that's
Right.
why you can get these out of body experiences. Now, what's really interesting is what are some things that boost up that serotonin receptor signaling? One of the most powerful things is sleep deprivation.
Hmm.
So
Oh,
sleep
totally.
deprivation brings more receptors to the surface. So this is why you'll think about, People that have like bad trips, they go to a music festival or something, they're on day 3, they're not sleeping, whatever, they do some acid or something that acts on that receptor. And now they have a horrible, they go too far down the rabbit hole, right?
Hmm.
Because they're more sensitive. Now, what happens when you don't sleep for days? You start hallucinating.
Right. That's true. Right.
So again, you're basically mimicking. It's the same thing at the end, not the exact same, but
Right.
it's not just one thing, but you see it's that same channel. I
Hmm.
forgot to mention this too. You know what other disease state is linked to mutations in that receptor is schizophrenia.
Oh, interesting.
So
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
the people that hallucinate people around them,
Hmm.
people call them like shadow people, like people that, do psychedelics, they feel presences around them. People that are highly sensitive and intuitive, they could feel doing a psychic reading, they could literally feel the presence and communicate with them, right?
Hmm.
You see how this is all interconnected, the same signaling system. And then
Mm.
when you think about ancestrally, you know, Aztecs, Buddhists, every religion has some sort of religious ceremony that there are psychedelic usage is tied back to it.
Hmm.
What did the Aztec Mayans do with psilocybin mushrooms? They would stay up for days on end and then take mushrooms and dance around fires and stuff to communicate with the god of rain,
Hmm.
sacrifice human hearts. I don't know exactly how much all that was required or not. I don't
Right.
really know that far, right? Like, at this point, I'm like, who knows, right? Like,
Right.
I'm rooted in science, but experiences that I've had, see other people had, right? Like, I really
Hmm.
don't know at this point. I think there's a lot beyond what we can test with science currently. That's why we're
Right.
friends. We'll leave it at
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but yeah, so like I believe I'm not the first person to think of this, but I thought of this independently and then saw other people say this as well, that
Hmm.
those with schizophrenia, they were the genetic lineages more or less of the shamans ancestrally.
Mm, interesting.
Who
Okay.
who would be, I'm not saying that irrefutably, but when you think
Right.
about it, hundreds, thousands of years ago, who would be the ones that would be the shamans? The same people, kind of like yourself, right? That are
Right.
able to, they may not even need the substances, or if they do use the substances, they are hyper responders. They can go all the way in, get the downloads, get the messages,
Hmm.
guide people through that, right? And bring that back out there.
Hmm.
Guess what? A lot of the anti, this psychiatric medication,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
they are serotonin 2A receptor blockers.
Okay. Oh,
So
okay.
that dials, I mean, makes perfect sense, right? Take
Right.
some of that and try to do LSD. You're not going to really feel anything. You're not going
Mm,
to, you're right. It's,
right.
and this is why they say psychedelic usage can trigger schizophrenia. You're
Mm,
doubling on.
right.
So, did you give someone that was a sensitive spiritual person too much of something, and now they can't really come back from that fully,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Um, Now, apigenin is a supplement that is actually a serotonin 2A receptor antagonist.
Hmm.
Olean, oleamide or oleamide, that's the fatty acid from olive oil. So those are two that I'm aware of that are basically natural. Don't quote me. It's not exactly apples to apples, but natural psychiatric medication. They hit the same system. They're
Hmm.
not a replacement for that. Please, no one go off your meds and go on that instead. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is I'd be curious for you, right? Maybe try a liposomal apigenin. Not
Hmm.
very good bioavailability on its own. Chamomile tea has it, but probably a liposomal form. And I'd be really curious. That's a really good way to test. Is this
Hmm.
actually due to that specific receptor?
Well, I will say that when I am sleep deprived, those out of body experiences will flare up. I call them
Yep.
flare ups because
Yep.
there was a stage in my life where I had one every single night. And then it was when I was eating really clean during that time, just like pristinely. And so, and meditating and all those things. So I'm sure I was just, prepping myself.
Yep.
It was hypersensitive to everything.
Yep.
So, but then it is when I have actually caffeine before bed or if I am too sleep deprived or things like that, it will trigger something like that.
Hmm.
But when I took a calcifidiol, that form of vitamin D,
Yep.
it stopped the out of body experiences
Interesting.
and all of my it didn't get rid of like total clairvoyance, but it got rid of lucid dreaming too. So
Hmm.
even if I'm just in an actual just dream state and it's just vibrant, like almost as if I'm there, but it's not a full out of body experience, that it stopped that as well. And the mental chatter and all of
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
rumination and things like
Yeah.
that. So vitamin D, I loved that piece of it, but then it also dulled a lot of
Yeah.
other things where I couldn't get pleasure out of things anymore, and I lost a
It's
lot of my
interesting.
passion.
It's hard for me to dissect that because
Yeah,
vitamin D it does so many countless,
I
countless,
know.
countless things. I know it does help promote serotonin formation, dopamine formation, right? So like, I don't know, like there's a million and one things that it does, right? So it's
Well,
hard to say. I wonder if I'm trying to think, could it be more of I don't know, like
I
maybe
was
you're more
taking,
sensitive to the genes that it makes. Like, give simplified example, right?
mhm,
It upregulates the genes, the tryptophan and tyrosine hydroxylase. So these
mhm,
make serotonin and dopamine. If yours are mutated, maybe one pathway, you take vitamin D, and just speculating here, maybe you get more of an influx of dopamine relative to serotonin
mhm,
versus someone else, right? So if you're saying that it helped with the out of body experience, maybe it was more of the dopamine, right?
mhm.
Which dopamine can kind of lower serotonin and vice versa, right? So maybe more that way, right?
Well, that would make sense because during that time that I was on vitamin D, all I wanted to do was do things to get a response. It was like the dopamine
Yeah.
hits. I was just very
Like task
effective.
initiation, like very
Oh, totally.
like task
It was
urgency.
task oriented. I got so much done during that time. So that actually makes sense. It was just a lot of, it could have just raised my dopamine higher. And I was on the cofactors like boron and
Yeah.
magnesium and things like
Yep.
that. So could have been any of those things. But I thought that was interesting that it got rid of the out of body experiences while I was on it.
And now you mentioned the boron. So have you always noticed the hair loss with vitamin D along with boron, or even just vitamin D on its own?
I have not taken, well, I took vitamin D twice without boron, like separately. Like I took a break for a few months and then took vitamin D
Got it.
without boron. And no, I didn't have the hair loss.
Got it. Because I'm bringing that up because boron also helps raise free testosterone as
Yeah.
well, right? So
Hmm.
like it may not be the vitamin D itself, it might be an offshoot effect, right? God, I wish there was a way to like actually prove this stuff.
I
Another
know.
one I mentioned too, cyproheptadine. It's an antihistamine
Hmm.
that also can block that serotonin 2A receptor. So I would think
Okay.
that'd probably be a bit more potent than an apigenin. So try
Hmm.
that out. I'd be really, really curious. And I just love when I have these ideas and theories, then you kind of have this your own anecdotal indirect evidence saying like I was again all, the systems, all these things here.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's interesting because even when I typed everything into Chat GPT about the vitamin D and my physical reality, kind of reflecting that, it didn't discount the quantum entanglement and the quantum part of it. It said that it actually made sense on a quantum level what was going on, but they also suggested the biochemical foundation needed to be
Hmm.
there, which that makes sense too.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, it is. I think it's fascinating because you can work again top down and bottom up. There, sorry about that. That you can work top down and bottom up. No matter which way you slice it, you're gonna get some kind of change. But sometimes working with the biochemical pathways that can make more of a permanent change in a lot of
Yeah.
ways because you're
Yeah.
working with genetic variations that people don't know that they even have.
Yeah.
And that might be exacerbating the anxiety or even just causing the anxiety or histamine issues or high sulfites or even just reacting to red wine or
Yeah.
something
Well,
that,
that's the sulfite. It's funny.
yeah.
One of the one of the case studies in this program, it's going to be 6 weeks, hour long or so, 10 to 15 minute lessons and an hour or so module each week, and then those are self-paced. We have a live workshop where live Q&A. I want this to be all in on really helping people understand this stuff, because I'm sure most of you guys listening, they're like, it's such a totally, completely novel way to look at things. I want people to be able to grasp it. But one of the case studies, I'm talking about how my wife and I, we went to a steakhouse, which we rarely go out to eat, but we got a gift card to a steakhouse. We went out, we got some red wine. We like red wine. And we had like maybe a bottle or two over like 2 hours. So we're
Hmm.
barely even buzzed, but was like wired that night. Like just
Yep.
could not go to bed, got a headache.
Hmm.
And I got they actually have sulfite filters for wine.
Oh,
So
interesting. I didn't know
it's
that.
like, yeah, we got a big one with a carafe, spent like $200, but whatever, worth it. Like they have a big
Yeah.
carafe and they have a
Hmm.
little wand you could stir in glass by glass. Long story short, we went back there and we brought the filter, and my wife, obviously she knows me better than anyone. And she's like, look at you. You have this like big silk bag with like your filter in it. And I'm like, anything for my sulfites. The waiter is like, this is a first for me. Right. So
Yeah.
he's pouring it in, and it spins it out, and then it aerates it at the same time. Did that. My headache was like 85% less. I still felt a hint of it, but
Wow.
noticeably less stimulation like at night after the fact. We drank like the same amount of wine. So again,
Hmm.
just proving lowering the intake, right? Because
Hmm.
not all of these systems, like there's not a mental tool to lower sulfites. That's not doesn't
Right.
exist. There are
Right.
mental tools to lower adrenaline. There are mental
Hmm.
tools to help with glutamate looping. There's not so much a mental tool to mentally lower histamine, right? So
Yeah.
that's why it's like to understand, consume less, help you break it down more. Is there a mental tool, right? And doing these things in the right order. I mean, I remember I used to try, before I figured out my histamine stuff, I would try things like a glycine or a taurine. I would try these things and they wouldn't really work for me because I was up here. Like imagine like you're trying to cut through a thick fog
Hmm.
with like a machete. Like you're trying to calm down from a biochemical stimulation. How many highly sensitive people are artificially stimulating their nervous systems with even expert led recommendations around supplements, because there is no discernment for that. And that's why I'm so
Right.
excited to get feedback on this and spread this mission, because again, therapy is great at talking about stuff, right? Nutritionists are great for general health, but they don't understand how those foods could stimulate a nervous system, right?
Hmm.
None of these modalities are hyper focused on how things enter and flow through a sensitive nervous system. They're doing other aspects of health, right? This is just hyper focused on that, built by me, a highly sensitive person, for other highly sensitive people, you know? So
Right.
it's like it's I'm just excited for it, and I really think that I just think that the amount of flashy supplement marketing out there, and I just seen so many horror stories.
Hmm.
They get a green tea extract from a podcast. They get a quercetin from a biohacking conference. They get a histamine liberated. They get fish oil. Fish oil can trigger
Hmm.
histamine issues. Like these things add up. And again, it's not like it's these life-threatening things, but if you live with anxiety or overthinking, it's like it's not going to kill you right now, but like it's just making everything a lot more difficult.
Yeah. Well, on top of that, I think that if you move one thing, the other things are going to help. So if you're taking the fish oil and it's causing, high histamine, and then it's leading to, hyping you up or anxiety, and that long-term wear and tear on the body
Yep.
of your heart racing, it causes other biochemical
Yep.
pathways to start
Yep.
breaking down. And then
Yep.
you have chronic issues or disease patterns that set in that you're
Yep.
not realizing. I was doing so well on the fish oil, or like the fish oil is so healthy. And we say these things all the time, but a scientific study can show milk is good for, calcium and bones, right?
Yep.
But if you're lactose intolerant, you shouldn't really be drinking the milk without, help to break that
Yeah.
down, the
Well,
enzymes to break
fish
down.
oil could be great. Fish oil can be great for heart health, but again,
Hmm.
they're studied in these conditions.
Right.
You know, sensitive people are usually excluded from these studies.
Hmm.
So think about that for a second. Like people like us aren't really in these studies to begin with.
Right.
Like when they do a study for fish oil on a something, they're rarely checking for an anxious side effect. And on
Hmm.
top of that, how many of those people are actually histamine sensitive, highly sensitive people, right?
Right.
They're not doing studies that get, let's just get solely, when they do get studies of only highly sensitive people, like people with the slow COMT gene, they're linked to increased emotional pain, increased physical pain, smarter when not stressed, perform way worse when mentally stressed, higher cortisol responses from the same stressor. Like, so you see all, I wish they were to do taking quercetin, like all those other studies to prove that, right? But it's
Hmm.
like, it's the culmination of all the writing on the wall in different things that aren't directly connected, but tied together through experience with this and seeing that in others. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, I think the highly sensitive people are interesting because they'll think through everything, they'll feel
yeah.
everything, they'll, adjust their behavior. Some have really poor boundaries, and then others will cut you off at the knees and you can't get back in because they are so highly
Yeah.
sensitive and know that any little pinprick is going to take them off their tracks so they can't have that amount of stress in their lives. So like you're not going to make it in.
Well, I mean,
So,
they tried. You mentioned the thinking, right? You can't. That's just you really can't think your way out of that stimulation. As an
right.
overthinker myself, it's I constantly am overthink. And it's not.
Hmm.
I like this. It's you and I and any of you sensitive people listening. Like, there's no hack to turn us into these eternally chill people.
No.
Like it's all about, it's not about, I view each person as their own unique shape. The goal
Hmm.
of this program is not to change the shape of you. It's to learn how to smooth out the edges, because you take away the sensitivity, you take away the whimsical, the wonder, the deep positive emotions. It's about learning again to, before you ask your body to calm down or try to sedate or numb, let off the gas first and see where that gets you. And for
Hmm.
a lot of people, a lot of sensitive people, letting off the gas, which pedal, A, B, what's doing it for you, letting off the gas can have a whole new baseline where the calming things, A, can actually work, or B, you don't need them unless you get into a really loud restaurant or a loud concert, a bright whatever it is, right? The different triggers, and you need some of that support. But your body, you have that blueprint to again stack it in your favor, not shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah. Well, and I'm seeing too with everything with technology and Instagram and podcasts and stuff these
It's
days.
horrible for us. It's nonstop threat, ping, ping, ping. Like we feel that. So I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of this goes into the evolution of why would we want highly sensitive people? Well, who would be the ones to hear a twig break before a tiger attacks you?
Hmm.
Us.
Right.
We would hear that. We would hear anything ruffle the feathers and get scared every
Hmm.
time. Wake up the village. They're like,
Yep.
Tyler, this is the ninth time this week. There's no tiger. The
Yeah.
10th time there is a tiger, and we all live. We
Right.
all reproduce.
Yep.
I pass on my genes. So then my
Yep.
kids are anxious. They do that. They keep the village alive, right?
Hmm.
There's a reason why we exist today. It's just, unless you're off social media, just, painting on an island by yourself, it
Right.
makes it really hard for us. These sensitivity genetics, being more sensitive, is linked to more of the creative arts. Why? Dopamine levels in the brain directly correlate with artistic capabilities and creativity. Now, the genetics for a fast COMT gene, so faster dopamine adrenaline breakdown, that's linked to high risk athletics like MMA. So,
Mm.
when you think about it, like when I was playing sports growing up, when I first get into the game, I'd be very overwhelmed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you got to hit a buzzer beater shot, it makes sense that you're going to be not as stressed. And these are the people that perform better under stress because now they have higher adrenaline, noradrenaline, dopamine.
Right.
Now they're sharper rather than us being sharper when calm,
Mm-hmm.
over frazzled when stressed. You see, it's the other end. I just think it's so fascinating. The personality types, which leads to the type of work you go into, which leads into all these different things, all are, of course, your upbringing, childhood trauma, that all plays a huge role. I don't want to discredit that. I just love the genetics are clear cut, locked in, easily testable, right? They're not always totally on point, but I see someone with the slow COMT and I ask them, like, do you worry a lot? And like, were you told that you've been dramatic your whole life? They're like, oh my God, yeah. I hate that.
Yeah.
Were you told you were dramatic growing up?
No, actually, I haven't been. Well, I only
Okay.
have one of those. I'm not
Okay.
double.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
But yeah, no, it's actually more in my adult life. I was laughing. Actually, you know her, Sheena Manina, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she'll
Yeah.
say, she's like, "You're so dramatic." I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, says someone who has like a baseline of,
Yeah.
yeah, zero.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's all relative, right? And
Yeah,
it's like, you're too much, you're overthinking, calm down, you're dramatic. Being dramatic means you are intentionally exaggerating something. So I feel from my environment a 3,
hmm.
and I purposely rev it up to a 9. Being sensitive, I mean, I won most dramatic in high school.
Well,
Like, but
you're also from New York.
well, everyone's from New York, but my point is
Yeah,
like, it's because of the excitability, right? I get very
yeah,
excited about things, but sensitivity means that loud thing was a 3, but my nervous system registered it as a 9.
right.
So there's no period of let me jack this up for the sake of jacking it up. And
Yeah, it's
that's
just your
why I
reality.
think exactly. That's why I think so many people are sensitive people are misunderstood and leads to more self-blame, self-pity, all these things, right? And it really wreaks havoc over time.
Yeah. I think there's also when you're dealing with a world where we're on social media and we're putting ourselves out there constantly with thousands of people looking at you, that's not really normal.
No,
That's not normally
not
what
even
happened,
close.
even,
Yeah.
50 years ago.
Yeah.
So we are dealing with a lot more like highly
Yeah.
stimulatory kind of like threats,
Well,
even
because
though,
we're getting desensitized at the same point. You got to up the. I
yeah.
mean, look at the holistic health space, social media wise, the last 3 years. Look at the massive shift I've seen to like. I used
Hmm.
to be able to just grab my phone and just yap, and it would crush. People wanted to hear it. Now there has to be this, never
Hook.
do this or every. And hey, I'm
Yeah.
guilty. I do it because it's my job.
We
I wish
have
I
to.
didn't have to, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And we're just getting
Well,
all these the green tea extract, the text, the this food, the that, these micro things that stack up, and you just feel that bucket filling up.
Well, and unfortunately, the highly sensitive people who are the creatives and the people who are moving the needle out there with their messages don't want to be online. They start shutting down
Yeah,
because they're highly sensitive. And I'm like, no, don't do that because we need your
yeah,
message. Like we
yeah,
need you. And now you're getting a lot of people who aren't highly sensitive people, which is fine. Some of their information can be good, but they're drowning out the people with
yeah.
the real messages that
Well, because
we need to
again,
hear.
that ties into being a sensitive overthinker. Usually, that comes in tandem with being a truly deep thinker,
Right.
right? When you look at a lot of the whether it's Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, Elon Musk,
Hmm.
all of them, you look at the books. I mean, whether it's wildly ADHD or on the spectrum, like it all correlates there, right? And I agree with you a lot. Again, kind of going back to what we could wrap up here. Kind of what we coming full
Yeah.
circle with the business type stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
this is no shots at anybody, but you could kind of see which types of pages are more health pages that are more, business marketing driven. Doesn't mean they don't help people in a way, right? But then you could
Hmm.
tell which of them are, like even like PhD. A lot of PhDs are known for being kind of, like antisocial, like kind of quirk,
Yeah.
because it's all the same behavioral patterns and systems that are at play here. And you mentioned kind of drowning out some of the real, wisdom. Those are the types of individuals that have that type of deep thinking. The reason why they have that deep thinking is also the same reason why they can have a lot of suffering, because
Hmm.
deep thinking can go both ways, into a passion and into, dare you say, the bleakness of the modern world today, wherever you want to
Yep.
go with that, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Even creators who are getting out there. Like I know these podcasters that I think they just won like podcast of the year or something. It's the Giggly Squad. Anyway, both of them talk about on their podcast that they take beta blockers before going just because they're anxious. And
Yep.
I'm like, there's probably, other things like what you're talking about, other pathways that are at play for both of them
Yep.
that they could
What are they
mitigate
what
that.
what are they eating beforehand, right? And
Right.
I'm just thinking too, again, dopamine, adrenaline usually go hand in hand. So
Hmm.
they're probably sensitive people with higher dopamine and adrenaline, and then they take a medication that blocks adrenaline but not dopamine. So
Mm.
now they have their high dopamine, they're
Yeah.
conversationalists, they crush it. So you see they're reaping the rewards of the high dopamine while blocking the adrenaline. What did they eat before? One last case study, an example I'll give. One of my best friends, she had an interview. She's highly sensitive, was really, really stressed beforehand. And she had her interview, didn't do too great on it, and like texted me like 4 or 5 hours later, like, Tyler, my heart is still pounding, like pounding. Like what? Like
Hmm.
I'm old. Like I know I'm it's not me. I
Right.
asked her what she ate. She got a hero beforehand, and she got
Mm.
extra onions on it,
Wait, what is a hero?
like a hoagie or a sub.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm sorry, we're different areas, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like a po' boy.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
kidding.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like a sandwich, right? And
Yeah.
she got it already had onions. She had
Hmm.
got extra onions on it.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
So, and most of my friends work with me, right? I looked at the genetics and I'm like, yeah, like that's why. So
Yeah.
obviously the stressor of, the interview, but
Hmm.
then it's already up here. And then you have that continuing to stimulate. So I wonder,
Yep.
the giggly, whoever the heck they are, right?
Giggly squad. Yeah.
What are they eating, beforehand? It's not,
Hmm.
maybe it's not that, right? Maybe it's just the nerves of a big podcast too, right? But
Yeah.
these little
Yeah.
things can add up.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay. So for your course, who can take it? Can anyone take it? Is it just
Yeah,
for practitioners?
no,
Okay.
this is high level things that I spent a lot of time bringing it down, like pictures, flow charts. This is meant for, literally, I want this any human being to be able to take this and see patterns into their life. It's new, it's an entirely new philosophy that I think even practitioners, like whether you're in the neuro space or not, whether you're a nutrition, whatever, if you're recommending supplements or foods or work with highly sensitive people, like, you should be taking this to understand the patterns here. I'm not sure exactly when this will air, but there's going to be a webinar I'm going to be doing where I'm going to kind of explain in more detail about this stuff. You guys just got a preview of a good chunk of kind of what the webinar will be, but going into more details there, tying some more things together. But yeah, that's going to be, I'm pretty sure, let me double check. I'm pretty sure the Thursday, June 11th. I just want to make sure I get that right. Let's see. Yeah, so it'll be Thursday, June 11th,
Okay.
7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, I'll have you put, the webinar registration link in there. And yeah, strongly encourage. This is a whole new way of thinking. Everyone come check it out, whether you ended up grabbing it, or not. Really just excited to get this out there. And instead of me working one on one with people, how do I share this to end that unnecessary suffering for sensitive people?
Yeah. So people even with OCD, ADHD, all of those things, or would they benefit from taking this course?
Absolutely. And again, the reason why is OCD, not all the time, a lot of the time can be genetics for glutamate issues. So that glutamate module may be particularly useful to you.
Hmm.
ADHD could be more histamine related things, right? So it's like all of these different things, regardless of what the label is that you were given to by a doctor, that's the top down, right? What's your label? What bucket do we put you in? I want you to look upwards, bottom up, and figure out which of these systems play a role. There's plenty of case studies for, ADHD children trying to do homework after school. They have the wrong food before they try to focus. And again, this is not a cure for any of this stuff. It's not to be a substitute for anything, but again, stacking the cards in your favor in a way that I'm pretty confident virtually no one has ever done before. Do these things first and then see how your mental tools work, how your supplements work, how your medications work, because you may not need them or you may need much lesser amounts.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited to take it, and I want to encourage everyone who is a highly sensitive person or just interested in general, or if they have a highly sensitive person in their life, to take this. And, I think it can help even if you're not highly sensitive. I think it can help even just with regular people with
Oh,
histamine issues or
well, 'cause that's the thing too. It's if you push these pedals enough, you will feel it. So
mm,
like you and me could take a little bit of green tea extract and feel bad. But
yeah.
if someone else that isn't highly sensitive, if they take green tea extract, five other supplements, and it's very
Mm,
easy to do, that's why it does apply to everybody. And the goal here too is not just to learn and understand yourself. Like I mentioned with my friend, oh, what'd you eat? Onions? Oh, that's probably you're going to be able to pick up on these patterns for every human being around you. Like, oh, I've been more anxious. Oh, did you try a new supplement? Oh, I've been taking this. You take a look. Oh, three adrenaline trappers. That's what
hmm
it is,
hmm
right?
Yeah.
To be able to help others around you as well.
Well, even from my background in alternative medicine, look at this. I'm thinking of even some of my clients with blood sugar issues and gut issues that are very highly linked to
Yeah.
high histamine.
Well, low blood sugar, you release adrenaline. Like even
Yep.
before clinical hypoglycemia, adrenaline gets released, right?
hmm
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah. All of that and doing that chronically, like not eating breakfast all the time and, taking on a bunch of stress and a lot of psychological stress and all that and having all the genetic mutations on top of
yep.
it. And that blood sugar is not getting into the cell and they're wondering why, and dealing with the high histamine, adrenaline, all of that stuff. So, no, I'm excited for people to really get in on this course. And I would recommend it to everyone because it is connected to so many things,
Yeah.
so many fundamental things, cholesterol issues,
Yeah.
thyroid issues,
Well,
everything.
the one, and this is the final last thing. I feel like we could
Yeah,
keep going
yeah.
for three
I
more
know we're
hours.
we're
Yeah,
gonna
we
talk
could.
forever.
But so I don't, I try to keep it simple in the course around anxiety, overthinking, but high histamine, high glutamate, high sulfites, they're also linked to brain fog, headaches, migraines, and so it's,
Yep.
these things also play a role. The reason why you have headaches around the same time that you're anxious, monkey on your back randomly, might be due to the same exact thing. So you can address multiple of these things in tandem. It all
hmm
comes down to patterns, but unless you have a map, the patterns seem random. And I'm
hmm
giving highly sensitive people the map.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited for that, especially with the headache issues, because it is something that I'll be totally fine and then something will trigger it during the day. Like I'll get a bad email or something
Yep.
that I'll start with the anxiety and then the headache comes on and I'm like, I didn't
Yep.
eat anything, I didn't do anything,
Yep.
So yeah, I'm excited to learn more about all of this. So I act like I've never done a podcast before. I keep hitting my mic like I'm brand new. Sorry about
I didn't
that.
hear much, so I think it looked worse than it was.
Like
So I think you're
boom, boom.
good.
Anyway, I look, see the highly sensitive person. I'm like feeling every little thing.
Yeah.
But well, it was great talking to you. Is there anything else you want to say? Like, is there a way to contact you? Should we go to your website to sign up? What do we
Yeah,
do?
so I mean, I'll have you put in the show notes the webinar, at
Okay.
Dr. Tyler Panzner on Instagram. I'm going to be kind of talking about this a lot the week leading up to it. And yeah, like I said, it's not super focused. There's genetics involved, but this is not something that you need a genetic test and that's not what this is. This is me
Okay.
trying to find a way to really help people at scale.
Okay, great. That's awesome. Well, good. Well, I'm excited. Well, thank you so much for being here and thank you for your time. And really looking forward to it. And I hope everyone signs up. So,
Yeah. Thank you.
all right, talk soon.